Hello, my friends. Welcome back to English Unleashed. I'm Tom. We have reached 1 million subscribers on YouTube in less than 7 months. Thank you so much. This milestone is because of you, your support, your trust, your time, and your belief in this journey. Every view, every listen, every comment, and every shared video helped us grow. You're not just subscribers, you are part of this community. We started with a simple idea: make learning English calm, clear, and simple. Reaching 1 million so quickly shows that learning together truly matters. So, thank you so much for being here. This is only the beginning. Today, we begin a new book together. The name of the book is Flow. The author's name is Csikszentmihalyi. The name is a bit long and difficult. Flow means a special mental state. It is the moment when you are so focused on what you are doing that you forget everything else. You forget time. You forget stress. You forget worries. In flow, your mind is calm and active at the same time. The activity feels challenging, but not too hard. You are fully present, and the work feels natural and smooth. For example, when you are reading and you forget the time, when you are practicing English and words come easily, or when you are playing music and you feel connected to every note, that is flow. So, in simple words, flow is deep focus with enjoyment. In this podcast, I will talk about this book chapter by chapter. I will speak very simply at first, but later the sentences will slowly become longer. But nothing will suddenly become difficult. You will always understand. If I use a difficult word, I will explain it immediately in simple English. So, take a deep breath and let's begin. All right. This book teaches us something very important for learning English, and that is how attention works. How attention creates the feeling of progress. The author begins this book with a simple but powerful idea. He tells us that many people around the world are unhappy not because life is difficult, but because their mind is tired and unfocused. Unfocused means the mind jumps from one thought to another without rest. Even when life is safe, even when people have enough money and food, the mind can still feel empty. Empty means something important feels missing, even if you cannot explain what it is. This happens very often in language learning. Many learners start with energy. They feel excited. They want to speak English fluently. But after some time, the excitement disappears and studying feels heavy. Heavy here means difficult to continue emotionally, not intellectually, not mentally, okay? So the problem is not intelligence. The problem is not talent. The problem is how attention is used. The author explains that happiness is not an accident. It does not simply arrive one day. Happiness is something we build through how we use our mind. Each day, the way you focus your attention either strengthens your mind or exhausts it. Okay? So exhaust your means to make something very tired. When the mind has no clear direction, it starts to worry. The mind remembers the past, imagines the future, compares itself to others, and slowly feels weaker. This is why many English learners feel tired without studying very much. Their energy is not lost in learning. It is lost in thinking about learning, okay? So, the author introduces us to a very important idea here. He tells us that the quality of our life depends directly on the quality of our attention. Let me say that again. The quality of our life depends directly on the quality of our attention. Attention is what your mind focuses on in this moment. Right now, your attention is on my voice and these words. That means your life in this moment is English. This is a very important point for language learners to understand. If your attention is calm and focused, learning becomes part of a good life, not a struggle before life begins, okay? So, the author explains that the mind needs structure. Structure here means order, clarity, and purpose. Without structure, the mind becomes noisy. Noise here does not mean sound. It means too many thoughts, too many fears, and too many distractions happening at the same time. Distractions means your attention is pulled away from what you are doing. Now, think about how often, while studying English, your mind says, "This is taking too long," or "I'm not good at languages," or "Others speak better than me." These thoughts do not help you learn. They steal your attention. Steal here means to take something away without permission. So, the author says that happiness grows when attention is ordered, when attention is structured, when attention is organized and calm. This is where the idea of flow begins. Flow is the state where your attention is fully inside one activity and nothing is fighting against it. For language learners, flow is the moment when you stop translating in your head, when you enjoy the process of learning. Flow is when meaning arrives directly without effort. This feeling does not come from forcing yourself. It comes from giving your full attention to the right level of input. Input means the English you hear or read. So, good input is not too hard and not too easy. The author tells us that the mind becomes unhappy when there is either chaos or boredom. Okay, what does chaos mean? Chaos means too much difficulty and confusion. Boredom means not enough challenge to keep attention alive. This explains why many learners quit. They either study materials that are too difficult or materials that are too easy. If the material is too difficult, it causes anxiety. If the material is too easy, it causes boredom. Both boredom and anxiety break attention. And without strong attention, learning cannot continue. All right. So then the author slowly teaches us something fundamental. Fundamental means basic. He's teaching us that the mind needs meaningful goals, a clear direction for attention, a clear purpose, This purpose does not have to be big or dramatic. For example, a goal can be listening to one podcast episode and understanding the general meaning. This kind of goal gives the mind something stable to hold. When attention has a goal, the mind feels safer. Safety here does not mean physical safety. It means psychological safety. Safety inside the mind. This safety allows learning to happen naturally. So, the most important message of this part of the book, especially for English learners, is this. You are not failing because you are bad at English. You struggle because attention is difficult to control. That is completely normal. Attention, like a muscle, can be trained. A muscle becomes stronger with correct use. Not with pain and not with stress, but with regular, balanced effort. This is exactly how flow will later work in learning. Not pressure, not fear, not pushing, but steady, focused engagement. Okay, now the author takes us deeper inside the mind itself. He talks about consciousness. Consciousness is a difficult word, so let me define it very clearly and very simply before we continue. Consciousness means everything you are aware of at any moment. It is what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you are noticing, and what you are experiencing right now. Right now, your consciousness includes my voice, the meaning of these words, your body sitting or lying down, and maybe some small thoughts passing through your mind. All of this together is consciousness. This idea is very important for language learning because learning happens inside consciousness. Anguish does not enter your brain magically. It enters through attention. And attention lives inside consciousness. The author explains that consciousness does not stay calm on its own. If you do not guide it, it becomes disordered. And disordered means mixed, messy, and confusing. Disorganized, okay? So the mind then jumps from one thought to another, and no single thought stays long enough to grow. Think about how often you try to study English, but after 2 minutes, your mind goes somewhere else. You think about work, you think about problems, you think about the future. This is not because you're lazy. It is because attention is difficult to control. The author says that attention is like a limited energy. Limited means it is not endless. So attention is not endless. It is limited. You cannot focus on everything at the same time. If your attention is pulled in many directions, none of them becomes strong. This is why learning a language can feel exhausting. Not because English is too hard, but because attention is being pulled away by many thoughts at the same time. Fear of mistakes, desire to be perfect, comparison with others. These thoughts consume attention without giving anything back. Consume means use up. Imagine reading an English text. If your attention is calm and focused, the words slowly begin to make sense. You may not understand everything, but meaning flows, okay? You get the general meaning. If your attention is full of tension and fear, every sentence feels like a wall. So the author explains that consciousness becomes unhappy when it is full of disorder. Disorder happens when attention is constantly interrupted. Interrupted means stopped and started again and again. Phones, notifications, worries, self judgment, all of these interrupt learning. Okay? This is especially important for language learners. All right, now the author explains something even more important. He explains why some activities make us feel alive and growing, and why other activities feel easy but empty. This idea is very important for learning English. The author starts by talking about pleasure. Pleasure is a good feeling that comes quickly. It happens right away. For example, eating sweet food is pleasure. Lying down and resting is pleasure. Watching short videos without thinking is also pleasure. Pleasure is not bad, our body needs it. But pleasure does not help us grow. Pleasure feels good for a short time, then it ends. And nothing inside us changes. We stay the same. However, enjoyment is different. Enjoyment feels good too, but it is deeper and stronger. Enjoyment happens when we do something that needs effort and skill. When effort and skill work together, enjoyment appears. This is very important for English learners. Many learners want learning to be only easy and comfortable. They want short lessons. They avoid anything difficult. But when learning is too easy, the mind becomes sleepy. Enjoyment appears when there is a little challenge, not too much, just enough to wake the mind. So the author explains that enjoyment is always connected to growth. Growth means you slowly become better and stronger. When you feel enjoyment, you feel that you are improving, even a little. This is why finishing a difficult English text feels good. This is why speaking English, even with mistakes, feels satisfying. Your brain feels progress, and progress feels good. The author makes one thing very clear. Enjoyment does not come only from success. It comes from the process. Process means doing something step by step. If you think only about the result, learning feels stressful. If you focus on the process, learning feels meaningful. This is where flow starts to appear. Flow happens when challenge and skill are in balance. Balance means neither too easy nor too hard. If something is too easy, you feel bored. You lose interest. If something is too hard, you feel anxious. You become worried and scared to fail. Many English learners move between boredom and anxiety. Very easy grammar feels boring. Very fast native speech feels scary. Flow lives between these two, okay? Not too difficult, not too easy. So the author calls this place the flow channel. Think of it like a river. On one side is boredom, on the other side is anxiety. Flow moves calmly in the middle. This is why choosing the right level is so important. Many people think very difficult material helps them learn faster, but often it only creates anxiety, and the brain cannot learn when it is scared. At the same time, staying with very easy material forever does not help. The brain needs a gentle challenge, okay? Gentle means calm, not forced. When you listen to English that is just a little difficult, your attention becomes sharper. It becomes more focused. You move toward the language. You do not run away from it. So, the author explains that enjoyment feels good because it organizes the mind. Your thoughts, feelings, and attention move together. They are not fighting. There is no voice saying, "This is useless," or "I'm bad at this." This quiet inside the mind is very powerful. Language learning needs this calm space. Language is full of patterns. Patterns are things your brain learns naturally. When you hear English again and again in a meaningful way, the language slowly becomes part of you. And this is why repetition in flow feels different. It does not feel boring. It does not feel mechanical like a machine. It feels alive. So the author also says that enjoyment makes the self stronger. The self means how you see yourself. Every time you face a challenge and stay with it, you build quiet confidence. Confidence here does not mean being loud. It means trusting yourself. Many English learners have negative thoughts. I'm bad at languages. I started too late. I'm too old. Enjoyment slowly removes these thoughts. They disappear little by little. They go away. When learning feels enjoyable, you stop asking, "Am I good enough?" And you start asking, "What can I try next?" So, the author is not saying learning should be painful. He is not asking you to suffer. He is simply saying that meaning comes from engagement, not comfort. Engagement means being mentally present. So this chapter teaches us something very important. If you want English to become part of your life, you need to enjoy challenge. Not big challenge, not scary challenge. Just enough challenge to wake the mind. As you listen now, you may notice something. The sentences are a little longer. This is on purpose. Your mind is adjusting gently. You are staying inside the flow channel. This is how learning should feel. All right, now in this chapter, the author takes us one step further. He explains what must be present for flow to happen. Flow is not luck. It does not happen by accident. It does not appear by accident. It does not appear by chance. Flow happens when certain conditions are ready. A condition is something that must exist first. For example, water must be hot before it becomes steam. Okay? That's easy. In the same way, attention must be organized before flow can begin. For English learners, this chapter is very important. It shows us that good learning does not come from pressure or speed. It comes from clarity and balance. So, the author says that flow begins when the mind knows what it is doing. This means having a clear purpose. A purpose does not need to be big. It can be small and simple. For example, listening to English for 10 minutes and understanding the general meaning, the gist, is a clear goal. Being fluent is not a clear goal. It is too big, too unclear. It is not specific. When the goal is clear, the mind feels calm. Anxiety decreases because attention has direction. Now, many English learners feel stressed because they do not know what success means in that moment. Clarity removes this stress. Another important condition for flow is feedback. Feedback means knowing how you are doing. In flow, feedback comes quickly. You feel when something makes sense. You notice when a sentence sounds familiar. You sense understanding without thinking too much. This feedback is gentle. It guides attention without fear. Flow also needs balance between challenge and skill. Challenge is how difficult the task is. Skill is what you can do right now. When English is just a little difficult, attention becomes awake and focused. Another key part of flow is concentration. This does not mean forcing yourself to focus. It means focus happens naturally. When you enjoy what you are doing, the mind stops wandering. Nothing else feels more interesting. For English learners, this is often the moment when translation slows down. You stop translating word by word. Meaning comes directly and naturally. All right, now the author moves into something quieter and deeper. He begins to talk about thinking itself. He explains that flow does not only belong to physical action or daily routines. Flow can also appear inside the mind during thinking, reading, and imagining. This is very important for language learners because one day, English stops being only something you hear. It starts to become something you think with. Okay? So the author explains that thinking often feels heavy because it is chaotic. Chaotic means there is no order. Thoughts come and go without direction. This kind of thinking drains energy instead of creating meaning. Flow in thinking is difficult. Flow in thinking happens when ideas connect smoothly and attention stays clear. The mind moves from one thought to another with purpose. When you read in English and suddenly feel absorbed, that is flow. Absorbed means fully involved. You stop noticing the language and start noticing meaning. Words become transparent. This is a very important moment in language learning. It means English is no longer an object of study. It is becoming a tool for thinking. This is why stories are so powerful in learning. A story gives thought a direction. This is also why listening to long, connected speech like this podcast helps learning English more than short, disconnected sentences. Your mind follows meaning over time. It practices staying present. All right, my friends. Before we end this episode, let us slow down for a moment. You do not need to remember everything you heard today. You do not need to explain it. You do not need to summarize it. Learning does not work like that. Learning works quietly. What matters is that your attention stayed with the language. It did not rush. It did not fight. It did not judge. This is exactly what the author means by flow. Flow is not about forcing progress. It is about creating the right mental space where progress can happen naturally. As an English learner, this is very important to understand. Fluency does not arrive because you push harder. Fluency arrives because you stay longer, calmly inside the language. When you listen like this, English stops being an obstacle. It becomes an environment, something you live inside for a while. And every time you return, even for a few minutes, something inside you recognizes quietly. Your ear becomes sharper. Your mind becomes more relaxed. Your confidence grows without noise. You may not notice change today. This is normal. Flow works invisibly. You cannot see it. But one day, you will realize that English feels lighter in your mind. Words come more easily. Meaning arrives with less effort. And fear no longer controls your learning. That is not magic. That is attention, used gently and continuously. Used gently and consistently. So do not rush forward. Do not measure yourself today. Just return again. Return to listening, return to meaning, return to calm focus. This is how English becomes part of you. I'm Tom, and this is English Unleashed. Bye for now.